It was perfectly foreseeable that the Ukrainian crisis was going to come. We have to start inventing the wheel every time something comes along. We went through the Cold War, we went through Bosnia, then we went through Kosovo, then we had a crisis in Macedonia, then we had Afghanistan. In each case, we produced voluminous lessons learned, and we put them on the shelf, and each time something came along, we started from square one. I think there are some people who live with delusion that if a challenge comes in the future in the security world, then essentially the Americans will be there. The Europeans better abandon the delusion that they'll always be there, because they might not, and that there will be circumstances where they certainly will not. So they've got to make the capacities and the thinking and the strategies that encompass a very new world where they're going to have to shoulder much bigger responsibilities than they've been willing to do in the past. There is a huge problem about declining defence budgets. You either make the case or you lose the cash. And what you do with the cash is also important, because the public are increasingly frustrated by the desire for capabilities that don't arrive or are flawed over time, over cost. So we've got to be more prudent with how we buy things. They're being bought for yesterday's enemies and not tomorrow's threats. I went to speak to a local Rotary Club in my own locality recently, and so I outlined to them my catalogue of current threats: cyber, terrorism, extremism, failed states, etc. And they were sort of saying, "You're just getting us depressed." And I said, "Well, if you look at it all, this catalogue of problems that are out there, each one of which can suddenly erupt upon us, just as in events in the last few weeks have done, yes, you could get depressed, but there is an answer, and that is good, robust defence capabilities." So when I came to NATO headquarters in October of 1999, I said my three priorities were capabilities, capabilities, capabilities. Well, if I was arriving now, and somebody will be by the end of the year, it's exactly the same. I hate to say that maybe it'll take another crisis for people to start thinking soberly and sensibly about what is needed, and often that's maybe the only way that you'll get the politicians in the alliance to think about it properly. But without them, we in general, never mind NATO in particular, are not going to be equipped to make our populations as safe as they think they are. One of the great dangers of this present crisis is that NATO goes back to the idea of territorial defence. That's of course essential, but it's not NATO's future. NATO's future is dealing with the broad range of challenges that we're going to face in the future. And whether that is terrorism or resource conflicts or climate change and cyber warfare, all of these different things that are now facing the world, then will not make people safer. I absolutely believe that NATO will be around in 65 years' time, because it'll still be necessary. The problems, the threats, the challenges, both in security and the wider political context, won't have gone away. So that kind of organisation will be required in the future, and that has been hugely successful in stopping Stalin, stopping the bloodbath in the Balkans, stabilising Afghanistan. It'll be a bigger NATO in the future, I hope just as effective, but it's going to have to encompass people at the moment who themselves don't think they want to be part of NATO, but whose people will eventually say that's the way. We'll have a safer country and a safer world as well. There's no security in Europe unless there is an eventual perspective of an organization that says we stand for values, stand for liberal values, and that has to include Russia, whether under the present leadership or the future leadership, because the previous leadership, when President Putin was first president, believed in exactly that objective. And I think that's what we've got to aim for. So yeah, 65 years time, somebody, not me, will be saying, what about the next 65 years?